Look at all of them. This always happens. Oh well, I guess we'll be eating that potato tonight. Good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me here at Tiny Barn Farm. My name is Jennifer, and today we're going to be out in the garden. So we're going to be doing a couple things. We're going to be digging up potatoes. We've got 2 more rows to dig up, and I'll go through how I'm storing those this year, which is kind of a temporary space until we get our cold storage next year, hopefully. I'm also going to be talking about a tarp I just ordered. So I'm going to be covering the garden this year because we've got big plans to make some changes next year. So we're going to make sure that all the weeds are smothered so that we're not digging up weeds next year. So we've got a tarp. We also have some bags that will hold down the tarp. So I'm going to be filling up some of those with sand today. And what I'm trying to do is just put the garden to bed. I've already taken the tomato plants down, and the pumpkins are already all harvested. Most of them already roasted and put into the freezer. We've actually made some pumpkin muffins yesterday. So we made those yesterday. They're quite delicious. I can share that recipe in the notes. And what else? Oh, dry beans. So I've started pulling the dry bean plant out of the garden. A lot of them are already ready to be harvested. So I'll show you kind of how I know that they're ready. And I've got them stored in the barn. So I'm going to be pulling the rest of those today. I think I'm going to just double check, make sure that all the plants have died back. And I just pull the entire plant with all the beans hanging off them, and I put them in the garage to dry out further. And then at some point in the wintertime, while I'm watching a good movie, I just start to take the dry beans out of the shell. So I'll go through that process as well, just so you can kind of see how that works. And it's always nice to have dry beans. I actually show you. These are the beans that we grew last year. So we got all of these from just starting at 1 row in the garden. So what I'm hoping to do is I think I have 4 rows. So I'm hoping to have 4 times this amount. I can also plant these, but mostly we just soak them and cook them and make chili through the winter time, and they're just gorgeous. So I think it's Jacob's Cattle, and I can't remember the other one. I'll try to look it up. I think I have it written down somewhere, but we've got a mix out there. We've got these ones, the Jacob's Cattle, and some black beans. So they're just going to be a mixed bag of beans, and we always like to do either stew or bean salad, things like that. So yeah, we're pretty excited about those. And I think that's it. But yeah, I'll talk a little bit about the garden plants, and yeah, let's head out. Today is just so beautiful, and the sun's out and the bees are buzzing. So let's go to the garden, see what's going on out there. I'm gonna put my hat on. It's really sunny today. All right. We got bees on the sunflowers. Let's have a look. In the morning, early in the morning, I see these bees sleeping on the sunflowers. And then they just wake up and start buzzing around. So beautiful. And they're quite gentle. I haven't had any issues with bee stings or any of them getting aggressive. They're just honeybees doing their thing. Oh, look at all of them. Just amazing. Anyway, these little creatures just bring me so much joy. They really do. I'm going to miss them when the cold weather comes. But you know what? We're always going to have a pollinator garden, and we're always going to grow sunflowers. So we'll have these back every year. Let's go take a look at the pollinator garden.
The lavender has done really well this year. The bees also love lavender. Look at them all. So I've been harvesting a little bit for the most part. I leave it for the bees because they just love this. So beautiful. And the fragrance off this is just amazing. All right, we'll leave them to it. Look at the dill. This is about 4 feet tall. And we even have pollinators on the dill. These look more like wasps, but they love it. There's more over here. They say that if you let dill go to seed, which we are, you will have dill forever in your garden. These were the beans I was talking about. And they're ready to be picked. Some of them still have green leaves on them, but I'm pretty sure you can tell if you kind of rattle them, you can hear them shaking around inside, that they're ready to be picked. And what I'll do is I'll just pull the entire plant out and store them in the garage, let them dry out further. We've only got about 1.5 rows left to harvest. And then I'll be placing those in the garage to dry out even further. And then in the wintertime, I'll crack these open and we'll reveal the beans. But I will show you, I'll show you 1 or 2 pods, see what we've got inside. It's pretty incredible. Isn't that just amazing? Beautiful little bean. So I'll put those in my pocket for now. But we actually have more broccoli growing. Look at this. That's a surprise. So we've got a few broccoli heads. So I'm going to be, probably they're little, but probably picking those soon. But yeah, we've got a few of them, which is nice to see. These are the side shoots. So I had harvested the main stalk and now they're growing side shoots. So that'll be a nice little treat for dinner one of these nights. This one is kind of started going to seed. It's starting to flower. So I'm going to leave that because the bees really love these beautiful yellow flowers that start to bloom. So actually I'll show you one. And it looks like it has a bee on it right now. Yes. So there we are. That's a broccoli flower. And the bees really like those. So I'll be letting those go to seed. Here is the pollinator garden. And all the bee activity doing its thing. Such a nice spot to just sit and watch bees. It's just lovely in here. So next year we're going to be doing an entire perimeter garden of pollinator flowers so that we ensure that we get a lot of berries and squash, and you know, it's almost like the more bees you have, the more food you get. Let's get to work. We've got potatoes to harvest that are, see, I've dug out a couple rows already of the potatoes, and where my little fork is, I'll be digging out more potatoes. Before we get started, I must show you the sunflower garden that has come into bloom over here. And of course, all the bees enjoying their best lives here. Even on the little ones. It's just incredible. There's like every sunflower has bees on it. Oh, so beautiful. So there we are. There's our sunflower garden that is in full bloom now. Let's get some potatoes going. Here we are. So I kind of like stick the fork in and then try to get underneath so that I can lift them up. So they're a little small, but they look good. There's no wormholes or anything like that. So, and they're quite delicious. We've already had some. Well, it's quite a few in this one. Quite a messy job, that's why I got new gloves. This is definitely one of the garden tasks that'll keep you fit. Lots of digging. But you know what? Out of all of the harvests I do, I feel like potatoes are one of the more rewarding ones. I don't know what it is. There's something about you don't really know what you have until you dig it out of the ground, and I don't know, it always feels like a bit of a surprise every time. So there's something very gratifying about it. And then you end up with this abundant harvest, which is so nice. We love potatoes. And they're actually quite good for you. They're not just starch. There's a lot of nutrients in them. So we were happy to have plenty this year. All right, so I'm gonna keep digging these out and then I'll show you what I end up with. Yeah. All right, so that is one row of potatoes. We still have another row to go, but inevitably, this always happens. Oh well, I guess we'll be eating that potato tonight. But I'm gonna get these out of the sun and I'm gonna show you where I store these inside the house. This is our mechanical room, and I have a towel over these, but I'm just storing them in these crates in single rows with newspaper in between. So I have, I'll show you. I try to keep it as dark as possible because if they get any light, they start to turn green and then they're poisonous. So we don't want that. So I have a row of larger potatoes underneath and then a layer of newspaper in between and then another row of potatoes. Now this is not ideal for storing potatoes. However, we don't have our cold room yet. And I had stored potatoes in here last year and they lasted about 3 months. But for now, these will be fine and we'll eat them over the next couple months. So we're not too worried about long-term storage. They're actually sitting on food buckets. These are dry goods that I have. We just have some organic popcorn and some kidney beans and other things. So we keep our dry goods in these wonderful food grade buckets that we get from Home Depot. And so, yeah, this is kind of our little mini food storage until we get that proper room in next year, which will be another project. We're pretty excited about that. But yeah, I just wanted to show you guys how I store these. Now I'm going to make my way out to check on the beans. I think we've already established that they're ready to be harvested. So we're going to pull those plants and store them. So this is what we have so far. Not too bad. Beautiful little beans. So those will have to dry further. All right. So this is where I'm storing my beans for now, in my wagon. So These are all just drying out in here, out of the sun and out of the rain. And they will eventually dry out further, and we'll be able to take all the beans out of their pods. But they're drying out quite nicely in here, so I'll just leave them. Usually I hang them, but this year, due to all the things we have to do, I'm just gonna let them dry in this wagon until we need it, and then maybe I'll just put it on to clear out some of this mess and put it on one of these shelves if I need to. And next project today is I've ordered these bags from this company here out in Quebec, and these are to hold down a giant tarp that I ordered. I already have a bunch of these, like I have a couple dozen, and I ordered additional 20. You fill these with gravel, well, as much as you can carry. It has a handle on it, and it ties at the bottom. And I'll show you. These are amazing. I've had these for years, my other ones, and we use them for so many things, but it gets quite windy around here. So you need something to hold the tarps down. But this pile of gravel, I'm gonna fill these bags with this. And we're gonna fill 20 of these bags. We're gonna put them out by the garden. And we're eventually going to lay out a giant silage tarp. Put that there for now. We're gonna lay out a giant silage tarp for this winter to cover the garden so that we don't have to weed it in the spring, and it'll be easy to cultivate. I wanna make some changes in the garden this year, so I wanna be able to till up the garden and establish some new paths. We're just going to be doing a little bit more landscaping in the garden just to make it a little easier to get around it. And so yeah, these bags, these green bags, are really going to come in handy for that. So I get them to about 5 pounds. I feel like that's a good weight for me to carry easily, and I can carry 2 at a time. So I just tie it nice and tight a few times around. Basically, that's it. And those weigh down silage tarps, because it gets really windy here. So we put several of these on top of the silage tarp in the garden, and then we avoid it blowing away. They're made of this really strong material. So, and they're UV protected, so they don't break down in the sun. So yeah, highly recommend it. They're about $2.50 per bag, so they're not cheap. And I know that stones could be an alternative. I just feel like these with the handle to be able to carry them around, they've been really great and worth it. And the fact that they last long, I just feel like they were a good buy. Let's see. Oh, that's about right. Kind of have to do this without my gloves on. Nice and tight. I don't actually weigh them, I just take an estimate. Whatever feels comfortable for me to carry. There we are. And the nice thing about these is when they're in the garden, you just lie them down nice and flat and they cover a nice area and they don't tear the tarp or anything. So I can carry them 2 at a time without any issue. So, 18 to go. This is the silage tarp here that we currently have. And there's the bags. Those are the ones from 6 years ago, still going strong. But we just weigh down the silage tarp with those, and it's been working really well for us. So when we put a silage tarp on the rest of the garden this fall, we'll use the newer bags to weigh these down. Very, very handy. And silage tarp, this is black on the top and white on the bottom, white on the other side. But we put the black side up so that it basically just destroys all the weeds underneath. The snakes love it too. We don't mind snakes around here, but we've got little garter snakes. They're very harmless, but they love living under this tarp. Thank you all so much for joining me today in the garden at Tiny Barn Farm. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. I will be bringing you weekly videos just to give you some of the updates and things that are happening around here at Tiny Barn Farm. We may even be having a wildlife release shortly, perhaps in the next video, but I'll have more details about that coming up soon. And I hope you guys all have a wonderful day. Thank you again, and we'll see you next week. Take care.